Call the meeting of Audit and Finance to order. We don't have minutes to deal with, so we'll start with the first item on the agenda. Authorizing an agreement with NTS Data Services LLC regarding software maintenance, support, and related services for the Board of Elections. Is Mr. Klein here?
Was in the other room.
He was.
Waiting for Mr. Klein to come in. Can I have a motion to take items 10 through 34 as a group?
Him and him.
Him and him.
O'Brien and
Colony duo. All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we'll vote on 10 through 34. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Can you say what they are? Just read one.
They're all the levies. They're all the levies. 10 through 34 is true. Back on item 1, are there questions for Mr. Klein, who's here from the Board of Elections?
Oh, there he is.
On number 1.
Where is it? Oh, okay.
Do you have a seat down there?
You can sit here if you want.
Next one. Can you give us a rundown on this? I understand this RLA was around in the middle of the summer, but
Yeah, I don't know
come to
what,
us for some reason?
I don't know what happened. It was filed in July.
Can you close that door, please?
Yeah.
But
It was
anyways,
filed in July
yeah,
with,
went into the RLA system, and I think it went to the chair, the majority, and the minority leaders.
Can you tell me what it does? Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
Can you tell me what this is in English?
Yes, this is our the vendor that provides the services, our electronic voter database. It's an NTS corporation, and it's we've had them since the beginning. They're an
Which
excellent.
beginning?
Since they started with an electronic voter registration database. And NTS services the majority of the counties in the state. They're very reputable. They're very customer service oriented. We've never had a problem with them. If there's any issues at all, they immediately respond. They're very good company. We're in the middle of a suite upgrade right now with this system. The first major overhaul since I've been there. And it's a 1-year contract for $113,306. There's a slight, a significant increase from last year, $14,800, and the increase is due to the reconfiguration of the mail check card, the annual mail check card that goes out. They're going from a postcard size mail check card to an 8.5 by 6 inch, very large card. So that's the.
So you're hoping people will see it and not
Yes.
just toss it?
Yeah, every year there's more stuff that has to go on these cards, and they've become problematic because almost nobody reads them. And this has been a source of problems because the mail check cards are used to determine whether or not a voter is going to be purged from the rolls. The card comes back, the voter gets placed in an inactive status. They'll get sent a confirmation card, and if that comes back, then if they don't vote in 2 federal elections, they'll get purged from the rolls.
Okay, so is this after the first one is, so the first one is sent out 1 year, and then 2 years later, they get purged. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
They'll get purged in the event that the confirmation card comes back and that they fail to vote in 2 federal elections.
So that's 2 years.
That's 2 years or 3 years.
Okay. All right. So can I just ask one thing? That
Ms. William?
when these cards are first sent out, is it some way that we can be notified? And the reason why I'm saying is that in where I live and the people that I represent, it's my voters. And because we have, I guess, people who we know may move a lot, okay? those are the people that are purged. That's where the greatest number of purges take place. So I'm just asking that when the initial card is sent out, which starts that 2-year process, two-year vote, that federal voting, isn't there some way that the legislature at least could be notified so that we know that?
Yeah, that's an annual, it comes out the same time every year, and I suppose the only effective method of doing your own checking would be to get a list of the, voters in whatever ward or district you're concerned with, and to make a personal contact with them.
But from what you explained to me, it would seem that it would be possible that there would be a list started for people that may be purged, so that we would have it and we would know. That would be the best way to go.
Yeah, we could just get a list of the people that have been placed in inactive status as a result of the mail check card.
Okay, all right.
You
Yeah, that
said you said 2 federal elections, which
yeah.
actually would be 2 congressional.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Give you a primary too.
Yeah.
Mr. Burgard.
I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. We're talking about a lot of the intricacies of when somebody gets purged, but all this resolution does is hires the vendor
Correct.
that you're required to make notification by law.
Yes.
So this is strictly those issues are all legitimate issues, but this just lets us comply with the law.
But now we know
Right.
how it takes place and
And the fact that there's an exception report that you could request and somebody
part
could
of
give you
the
your
Be provided
purge.
by this vendor. So, Mr.
thank you.
I just,
O'Brien.
going back to the cost estimate, the increase of 14,800 represents a 15% increase from 18. It also increased 23,000 from 17 as well, which represents a 26% increase.
I think it has always been around $90,000.
But
The 98.
you've had increases.
Yeah.
Can you explain what is skyrocketing the cost?
Well, there's a number of different services that we're involved with here. There's the maintenance of the voter registration database itself. There's the interface with the central statewide database called Nice Voter. There's the full documentation component of it, where the documents are scanned and a folder is kept on every voter. There's the poll book generation. There's the mail check cards. There's this thing called packets, which is the designating petition suite that tracks all petitions for various committees and public offices. There haven't been any major, well, I mean, there's also, it's an evolving type of a thing. It's not a static electronic service. Things are changing. They're upgrading their suites all the time. They're making modifications that's, and that reflects changes, their overhead to do that. It's not, there's been nothing radical at all. This increase of 14,000 is directly and exclusively attributable to the increase in the mail check card. There haven't been in the past any major changes.
In 2017, it has increased 26% from what we paid the year prior.
I would have to check that. I don't
Well,
think that is.
as you said, they service most counties in the state, so
40.
we don't have a lot of competition here. So
But they've been a good, they've been
But you
an
say they've
excellent
been
vendor.
reputable. All right.
I mean, they're very responsive.
Any other questions from members?
Yeah, I just want
Mr. O'Brien?
to continue. According to the backup, it appears that NTS provides a range of services. Can you explain what the following are, such as team, sign it?
Team is the, that's what the suite, the product is called. That's the generic name for the entire suite. And there's also a Team PPL that is involved with the voter whole site lookup that we have on our website.
And then there's sign it.
Sign it is just the signature configuration for the voters.
And then full document imaging.
Full document imaging, anytime there's a document that is relevant to the status of the voter, we scan that document into the voter's file. It could be an obituary if the voter's dead. It could be an absentee ballot application. It could be a change in party enrollment. Anytime we receive a document from a voter that has an impact, it affects the status of the voter, then that document is scanned into the voter's folder.
Yeah, that obituary part could be pretty important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I just,
Just flowing in.
so does this process do away with the paper? With the actual voter registration form itself?
No, we still have the what used to be known as a buff card. That's still, when that's received, it's filed. The original so-called hard copy is stored. They're not destroyed, but they're scanned. And so there's a digital copy of every voter registration application.
If we go to early voting, where it looks like we may be going in the state,
I would say we will be.
does this change this significantly, or?
It wouldn't change the nature of the services that this vendor is providing. It would change the nature of the services that the Board of Election is providing.
Other questions? Motion? Mr. Bergdorf, second, Ms. Willingham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mary. Number 2, authorizing an agreement for the maintenance and support of the Cooperative Extension Association for Albany County for the year 2019. Hi. Any members have any questions? Do we have anybody to? Go ahead, Lisa. Looking for you. Do you have any? What do you got here?
This is just our
Annual.
RLA to authorize the maintenance between Cooperative Extension and Albany County. So,
Right? Motion, second, Mr. Clay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
great. Thank you. Happy holidays.
Number 3, authorizing an agreement with Celtic Consulting LLC regarding case management review services. Mr. Commissioner, at
we
the
doing
Albany
tonight?
County Nursing Home. My favorite topic.
So this is for the new MDS coordinator. RFP was issued. A new vendor responded to the RFP and was graded higher than the previous incumbent. This is for
So what do they do in the case management review?
in the case.
This is the case management.
Yeah.
review.
So the MDS section of the that is
Stands
required.
for, explain.
Minimal data set. Sorry
Thank you,
about that.
thank you.
And you just deal with it all the time.
Right, I understand.
You fire them out.
Still don't know what minimal data set means, but.
Well, they say minimum data set. It's about 57 pages, so you can see that's
Very minimal,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
That is filed every time on a monthly basis for, I believe, the first 3 months of the residents' stay, and then on a quarterly basis.
So it's a
thereafter.
tracking system of the residents in the nursing home.
Yes, and this company makes sure that it's filed correctly. They go through, they audit like what is done by our unit managers and supporting staff. If that documentation has been appropriately gathered, filed, and sent in on a timely fashion. As you know, the MDS, it's one of your biggest drivers for your case mix index, CMI, and that is your leading factor for your Medicaid reimbursement.
Does the chair of the Elder Care Committee have a question? Willingham?
Is this also what determines the rating, this information goes to the state somewhere?
It can be part of your quality rating. It's not for all your ratings because there's an environmental rating. There's also different standards for your surveys that for your F tags and K tags, but it does for your quality standards. Yes.
But this, what came up? Something came up in regards to why we had to hire this other company because our rating dropped.
That's a different issue. That's not for this. This is to This is to maintain our current case mix and to make sure that the filings continue to be timely and
Since
complete.
this is a new vendor coming in, what steps do you take to monitor them to make sure that they're?
Well, that's a very good question because the new vendor, has a little transference time over with the old vendor, and basically they did, 200 different individuals there. You want to make sure that your timing anybody doesn't fall through the cracks. And you have 30-day, or 90-day, and depending on when your stay comes, you want to make sure that your filing is done right, because if it's not, then they can look at past ones, and then, of course, audit those and to see if those are done incorrectly or correctly.
Are you good? I'll make the motion.
I got a question.
Mr. Burghardt.
Whenever the county has a tendency to sort of hang on to the same vendors year after year, and whenever I see a new vendor come in, I want to ask the question, and I see very complicated matrices, okay, which I probably should have done about an hour's worth of analysis on.
They do a breakdown for you
But
here.
can you tell me what makes this new what is our development opportunity here by going with the new vendor over the old vendor? So what's going to get better?
One of the biggest benefits of the new vendor that the old vendor doesn't have is they have master certification in MDS. What does that mean? It means that they can teach their practices to an MDS coordinator. Okay, they can certify that person as being part of the the MDS minimal data set.
50 pages.
I'll get you one.
57.
It's a packet like this.
No, thank you.
But I mean, but is that going to give us a better income stream? Is that going to lead to more reimbursement? What is the most beneficial output for having someone who's right on the top of their game doing this? What is it to us?
Well, it's two different.
It is. It's reimbursement, case
It
mix.
is money. It leads to that, yes.
So hopefully,
Is there a metric in here that justifies, there's a scoring and a weighted average here.
well, there's something that says demonstrated history. So am I assuming that this new vendor has a very strong demonstrated history with other?
They're the masters.
Yeah, those who can't do
They
teach.
have a master's certification.
Doctor.
Thank you very much. You're excused, Mr. Burghardt.
Thank you. Sorry, I help myself. But so we hope we're going to get recognition of a better case mix and better reimbursement.
Yes,
That's
yes.
the goal
We
here.
definitely
Okay.
want all the
Excellent.
to recapture all the.
We still have to have the residents. All satisfied now?
Let's move it.
The second, Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much, Tony. Number 5, are we on, or 4? 4. Authorizing the county executive to sign a letter of support regarding the Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Corporation.
Mr. Chairman, so we were approached a couple weeks ago by OTB to sign a letter committing the county to a rework of the reimbursements coming from OTB to the county. In brief, basically what it would do is it would change the payments that come into the county from quarterly to annual, but as you can see from the budget language that authorized OTB to petition their member counties and make the change, authorization to do this really is something that needs to go through the legislature. So that's why we wanted to introduce it to get your agreement before signing anything. The actual accounting change that's necessary to accommodate this change actually was in the budget before, but the request for the signature was something different.
Mr. Mendick, you have a question? Mr. Clay, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Mike,
Mr. Grimm?
the state law was changed, racing law was changed to allow the OTBs to go from quarterly to annual payments.
Correct.
And because if you're in a capital OTB, the piece of the action goes to the municipalities, including Albany County.
That's correct.
My question is, why would the county be in favor of it? Because now, right under the current system, under the quarterly payments, we're getting more money on a more frequent basis, and we can invest that money and make money on it. Now that if we move to an annual payment, then we're not going to get that money until the end of the year. Clearly, that's a disadvantage for us. Why would the county, which has to approve this under state law, why would the county be in favor of such a move?
So the reason is that
Mr. Medici?
this will help with the cash flow of Capital OTB, which has many locations around the county, employs dozens of people, and this is an attempt to help them remain a going concern. We made an adjustment to the 2019 budget, minus 60,000, which you would see on the Finance Committee. So that's the magnitude of the change that we're talking about here. Very modest relative to a $670 million.
So when you're saying cash flow,
budget.
they have cash flow problems then?
Yes.
Is there an issue of solvency with respect to how they're managed?
This will help with their cash flow modestly.
But it won't
and
help
they
with
have-
our cash flow. I
No,
mean,
in a very modest way, correct.
yeah, I'm concerned that obviously we need a viable entity because they are returning money to the municipalities. At the same time, this is a deal that really isn't helpful to the county because we're not sitting on money we otherwise would have been sitting on it investing. Am I correct?
So like how long are we locked in? Can we go back? Can we revert once their cash flow
So-
issues
So
are
one thing you
resolved?
should know is that we're a member of a 17 county
Right.
district. 16 counties have already signed off on this.
Okay, well,
so-
maybe they didn't scrutinize.
And
it
that
well
and that's
enough.
fair. That's fair. But there has been a general feeling of agreement on the OTB board and all the representatives that are appointed by the various legislative bodies of the region that this is a good idea. They we were having the conversation and progressing fine during the budget process with legislative staff and everything's fine, and then they decided to come into the county executive's office and say, here, please sign on this dotted line, which necessitated this act.
My question is, there was reason why we did it the way we did it to begin with, and now I understand why they're proposing for cash flow to help them stay afloat, et cetera. But if they turn it around, can we go back to the old way, to the current way? Or are we
So we
gonna
would have to take
go
this
through
type of action every
again,
single
reverse,
year.
right? Yeah.
If
There's
their
no sunset on
fortunes
this.
were dramatically changed, when you look at the language in the state budget that passed this year, it requires all 17 counties to go through and affirmatively
Every
approve this every
annually.
year. Yes.
Gotcha. So
What if-
otherwise it stays the same unless we improve. Okay.
What if one of the counties says no? What's the implication for that county?
Then they would,
No, then it's no across the board. Then it's not county by county, it's by a region as a whole.
So one county could stop, block it for all the other counties.
That's exactly the position that we're in, that's correct.
All right. Motion,
Motion.
Mr. Bergdorf, second, Mr. Joyce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much, Mike. Okay, number 5, authorizing an agreement with General Code Publishers regarding the codification services for Albany County.
So
Speak to
the
this, Mr.
Sure.
Majority Counsel?
the clerk couldn't make it this evening. He had a conflict. Since the legislature is working collaboratively with the clerk to get this done.
We had talked about this at our very first budget.
Yep, this is just a one-year extension, the final year extension. We're in the final push here. Mr. Russell has, by no small miracle, put together about 30,000 documents, and we're ready to get this going.
Mr. Bergdorf?
I am completely supportive of this, probably more supportive than anyone would like me to be.
Co-sponsor?
But I remember Wanda talking about what do we have to do to push this over the finish line in the year 2018. Are we comfortable that we have enough resources on the county side of this to get this done in 2018? 19?
without speaking for the clerk, from our side of it, Paul, we're on the 2-yard line. We're ready to do the final push. Sorry, I'm using football.
Oh, no, that's fine.
But
That's fine. I
we're
understand
ready.
that.
Don't say Giants.
Again, I have to really commend Brandon for everything he did on top of his normal responsibilities. Again, it's no small task, so we're ready to go.
Well, I
As long as
mean,
we don't fumble it.
Yeah,
You're lucky that I can understand those.
sure.
I just get, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Grimm.
what is the timetable here? Because it does seem like this is language.
So-
Can we have more definitive answer on what the
The
timetable?
time frame, it all depends on us, I'm not going to speak for the clerk in case he has something else to say on this, but what I'll say is the documents we put together, we've got to get those to E-codes. And then within the contract, there's a pretty quick turnaround. I think it's fair to say, without locking into an exact date, late spring, early summer would be a reasonable turnaround for this.
Is the League of Women Voters happy with that?
We've been waiting for this.
okay.
It's been
So
on
we're
the
all
radar
happy.
for a number
We're all
of years.
happy.
Got this,
Okay.
so. this will
May I
be
just make one request of?
Co-sponsored by the Audit and Finance Committee?
Yeah, it should be, yeah. But of the councils, both and I know it's really, virtually all the work has been done by majority councils, but would you folks get together with Bruce and with Arnis as well, and just make sure that this is something we can complete in 2019, and if there isn't, could you come back to us and tell us what extra horsepower you need to make that happen?
Yes.
Push it over the goal line, sort of, so to speak. All right, motion.
Victory
Joyce,
formation.
to amend it. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous, thank you. Number 6, authorizing the planning department to take initial review actions to determine secret lead agency status regarding the water purification district regional anaerobic digestion facility.
Yes, sir. The district is requesting legislative approval to adopt the County Department of Economic Development, Conservation and Planning State Environmental Quality Review Determination for the district's joint regional biosolids handling facility as a CGER Type 1. These findings show the project would have to be listed as a Type 1 in order to receive the grants and ESC funding. Therefore, the district is requesting authorization for the county to seek lead agency for this project. The project is a component of the district's 2018-2020 capital plan.
Questions? Motion, Mr.
Motion.
Bordor, second, Mr. Joyce, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Unanimous, thank you. Number 7,
I'm sorry.
we're not up until 10, right? 7, public hearing on amending the 2019-2023, that's the 5-year capital program. Question, Mr. Mendick?
Motion.
Motion, second, Mr. Joyce, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Number 8, amending resolution number 567 of 2017, amount levied for the energy loan program for property in the town of Colony, 48 Delator Road, tax map, blah, blah, blah. Questions? Anybody here to talk about this? Any energy loan program for property in the town of Colony, Delator?
Is that the
What?
Corundele Nuns? Is that the senior facility there?
Okay.
It's the only big thing on
I
Delator
don't think
Road.
this is controversial, but if you
No,
had
no,
an
I was-
explanation, I'm just,
We'll move it. Let's move
Yeah, let's move it.
wait.
This was just a,
Thank you, Tony.
we flipped the number around last year when we did this loan, and all we're asking this year is to flip the number back in the right order. That's all we're doing.
All right, so it's a technical correction to
Yes.
motion. Mr. O'Brien, second, Ms. Willingham, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you for clarifying that, Tony. Number 9, authorizing the distribution of mortgage taxes for the period April 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2018. So all municipalities in the county get a slice of this. Motion, Mr. Joyce, second, Mr. Clay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. All right, we already did 10 through whatever. 35 it was, right?
You're on.
34, so now we're on number 35. Adopting county equalization rates for 2018 for the cities and towns within the county of Albany. Questions?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Grimm.
Who's here to answer me?
Tony.
Tony.
Oh, Tony, yeah.
Tony Delell.
The state, the whole idea behind the equalization is that everyone should fairly be as close to full market value as possible, and sometimes the state steps in if the town isn't. But explain to me how the county equalization rates are imposed, and what do they take into account when they're imposing those?
There is no county equalization rates. What happens is that...
Well, it says adopting county equalization rates.
Okay, because if you look at the letter that they send us, that's what they name it, but really the state
That's what I
has
thought.
imposed these equalization rates.
Okay, all right, that's what I thought. All right, so
So just
the
very
titles are
quickly,
strong
just
then.
explain what's going on here.
Yeah.
Why-
So what happens is the...
Mr. Grimm did a part of an explanation.
So what happens is every year the state takes a look at everybody's assessment roll that we're going to use in the levy of taxes. And they say, okay, what's happened here? What kind of sales have gone on? You know, how are they treating their inventory? Okay, we'll take last year's rate and we'll put some kind of factor on it. We'll say, okay, well, the rate is going to go down, or the rate is going to go closer to 100. And it's all done by the state. They take a very small sampling of properties like we talked about to do this. People that might remember a couple years ago when Guilderland's rate dropped and their taxes went up. Okay, this is all factored.
I recall that, yes.
This is all, this all affects the tax levy.
Yeah.
So we're under a section of the law where we have the state provide us equalization rates. So we put it in front of the legislature to adopt.
Okay, so it's not something the county determines?
County doesn't do it.
All right, so that just title is kind of...
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay.
Motion, Mr. Clay, second, Mr. O'Brien, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. 36, adoption of table of equalization for the assessment year 2018, county tax year 2019. So this implements...
This is related to the equalization rate, and it shows how much equalized value is added to what we use in the tax levy.
Motion, Mr. Clay, second, Mr. Joyce, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. 37, adoption of partial tax exemptions and amounts determined as the assessed valuation of real property as basis of equalization.
Right, so
We're getting more and more arcane as we go here.
before you get to equalization, you have to have assessments. And this shows what we used and what was equalized.
Mr. Joyce, second, Mr. Clay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Are we done with you yet, Tony?
I don't know.
38, authorizing levies for debit and credit balances. That doesn't sound like you.
It is me.
It is.
So what happens is during the year, this body will do corrections for taxes, or there will be Supreme Court orders and other activity that comes up that causes differences in what we settled with the cities and towns on the taxes. So what we do is we're recouping them. These are added to the tax levy.
So certain jurisdictions are going to have an additional
Amount added. Yes.
to compensate the county for it.
For refunds we made.
Right.
Or adjustments we made.
Okay, got it. Motion, Mr. O'Brien, second, Mr. Bergdorf, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. 39, amounts levied for court-ordered refunds and county taxes.
Okay.
Tony?
So what you have here is the amount of levy is listed in this resolution, which is the 92 million some odd. Okay.
That's it.
And also what happens is, in Albany County, in all counties, when you make a refund of county tax for an assessed value over 10,000, you're allowed to do what's called a general county chargeback. So everybody pays for it. The Town of Colony makes a refund on an assessed value cut of $50,000, and for the county portion, they made that refund. We'll take that money, we'll add it to the levy, and everybody pays for it because it's a general county charge.
In Colony.
Right, it came from Colony,
Right, so good.
but everybody's gonna pay for it through the levy.
Mr. Joyce? Motion. Second, Mr. O'Brien, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. 40, taxes to be appropriated and levied upon the several cities and towns in the county for various purposes and for special district taxes in the towns.
Okay, again, so this is all of the rates. We're passing all the rates for the cities and towns. County, special district, the 3 cities are in there too for county also.
So different municipalities might end up paying more or less county tax. The
Yes,
residents
that's
may
right,
pay more or
John.
less
Yeah.
county taxes.
Yes.
Motion? Mr. Clay, second, Mr. O'Brien, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 41, re-levy of unpaid school taxes.
Okay, each year, what'll happen is the school taxes will come in from the towns, and we'll collect them for 1 month. Whatever is unpaid after that 1 month, we will re-levy onto the property tax bill. We also are liable for whatever comes in this month and it's not collected, that we have to pay out each April. So this
Somebody,
levy,
homeowner does not pay their taxes,
School
their school
tax.
taxes, we'll get the next one's bill, right, school taxes. The county makes up for that,
yes, sir.
okay.
That's true on all the local taxes, isn't it? The counties ultimately has
And
to
we
pay-
make everybody good on everything.
Yeah.
But these two, right,
Everybody but the county taxpayer.
exactly.
And that's a state law that requires us to.
To re-levy,
to
yes.
pick
Yes,
this up,
yes.
Yeah.
right, the initial cost.
It's in the resolution alone.
Do I have a motion, Mr. Clay, second, Ms. Willingham, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. 42, re-levy of unpaid village taxes, motion, Mr. O'Brien, second, Mr. Joyce, all those in favor? Opposed, unanimous. 43, approval of extension in tax, this is the last one, folks. Approval of extension in tax rolls of forms and amounts in tax forms and authorizing their execution.
Okay, so what's happening here is, in about 2 weeks, I'm gonna put together the warrants that we will give to each city and town that allows them to collect taxes.
That's the authorization.
Yes, and
warrant.
go to the chairman, he'll sign it, we'll put our seal, and we'll pass it out to each city and town. They're each individual one.
How many
So
of
how
those
many?
do you have to
How
do?
many?
13.
13.
Mr. O'Brien? Mr. Grimm, I gotta get you on the record.
Okay, great.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Tony. Good job. Motion to adjourn. Mr. Joyce, second. Mr. Mendick.